There's a story about a little girl who fell totally in love with a string of plastic beads at the local dollar store. She saved her pennies and her money, and she knew how much it cost. She was a very smart little girl. And she counted the cost, and the cost was going to be, when she got some pennies or some nickels or dimes, that she would have to not spend it on candy or anything else that she wanted if she wanted these beads. But she dreamed about these beads, and she waited, and she counted her pennies over and over and over and recounted them again just to make sure. But the day finally came when she could go and buy that necklace. So she went to her daddy, and she told her dad that she now had enough money to buy that necklace that she'd been wanting for a long time. So he took her, put her in the car, and drove her to the dollar store, and she bought those beads. Those beads were put on her neck. Her daddy helped her put them on and showed her how she could put them on herself when daddy wasn't around, taught her how to do it, and she wore those beads with so much pride. She very rarely ever took them off. She wore them to kindergarten. She wore them to wherever she went. She wore them around the house. She just wore those beads. Now her daddy was very much loved. He always played with her. He always listened to her little problems and helped her out with whatever it was. He always read her a bedtime story and tucked her in. He always helped her untangle her hair when Mom wasn't able to do it. He helped her whenever he could, doing whatever he could to help. Now her daddy loved her very much. But one night, while he finished up the story and had tucked her in and kissed her cheek and gave her a little tickle, he asked her, because she still had her beads on, he asked her if he could have those beads. She giggled. She thought to herself, big man daddies don't wear beads. He's being silly. But the next night, he asked her again for the beads. So she thought about it, and she says, how about you take my little pony? You know, the princess one. You know, the one that's white, has the stars on its butt and curly purple tail. You know, that one over there, the one I really, really like and have had it for a long time and play with it. I always play with that when we play My Little Pony. And Dad said, no, I don't want that. Kissed her goodnight and left. Well, this went on for a long time, and the little girl kept wondering, what is it that Daddy wants? Besides my necklace, that is. So one night, Daddy came into her room, and she was sitting in the middle of the bed, cross-legged, and there was tears running down her cheek. And the necklace wasn't on her neck, it was in her hand. And she took the necklace and held it out to her daddy. She didn't know why her daddy wanted it, but he looked really silly with those beads on. She didn't understand. But her daddy came forward and reached out his hand, and with his other hand, he put it into his pocket and pulled out a purple velvet jewelry box. And he gave her the jewelry box, and she He took the beads, the plastic beads. She opened the box to find a string of real pearls, perfectly made, with a very strong latch. He had it made especially for her. A latch that her little fingers could surely work very easily. And she took the necklace and she put it on. She still didn't understand what was going on, but she now had real pearls around her neck. He was just waiting for her to give up the cheap dollar store necklace so he could give her the real thing. God is waiting for us to give up the things that we hang on to, the things of this world that we hang on to, so that he can give us the real life that he has intended for us. In our Corinthians story this morning, and I was reading from Corinthians that I almost had him read when I didn't want him to read it. The Corinthian people were not perfect people. They were so far from it. They made lots of mistakes. They were strong-willed people. Now, if you have gifts such as this 5-year-old had, in case you miss these gifts, I thought of them, and then I thought, I need to teach them what these, because when I read this, I missed it too. I missed this little thing, this little part. If you have gifts such as the 5-year-old had, in case you missed the gifts, it was the gift of love. She loved those pearls. The gift of dedication. She gave up her candy and all the money that she had saved. The gift of stewardship. She took care of the pearls, always knowing where she had put them when she wasn't wearing them, such as when she was swimming or taking a bath or whatever. But the most important gift was she loved her daddy. Even if she didn't and couldn't understand why her big, strong man daddy would ever want her little girl plastic pearls. She loved him enough to give them to him because she could feel his disappointment each time he left her room. It is that same disappointment God, our Father, feels when we refuse to give up our quarreling, our jealousy, our outbreaks of anger, our grudges. When we refuse to give up slandering and gossiping and our arrogance and our disorder. Our Father, which art in heaven, wants us to give him the things that keep us from having a close relationship with him, with his Son, and the gift of the Holy Spirit, and the fellowship of each other here in this church. The Father in the story gave his little daughter a home, food, clothes, his time, his patience, his loving discipline. He taught by example. He wanted her to have the real things, which doesn't happen when we refuse to give God what is our very best. It can't be because we want a better necklace. That's the part of the story. He He didn't tell his little girl that he was going to give her a better necklace. He let her choose to love him enough to give up. God lets us choose if we love him enough to give up our time to go work on a breakfast or a funeral reception or whatever. Do we love God enough to give, to bear our cross, to love one another, to forgive one another, to care for one another, like a marriage? Do we love him enough to do that for him? The better pearls are ours, are our reward for loving God. A better life is our reward. But we don't do it so that we will be rewarded. We do it out of respect and love for our Father who art in heaven. He has promised to be with us always, to the very end of the age. I was, up until last night, saying, how can I get this message across? And keep praying over and over and over. And God gave me this little story. And then I said, that's not enough. I need to explain it. And this morning, it came to me how to explain it. Do you get it? God just wants your love. He wants you love enough to share and care for one another. Let us be in the spirit of prayer. God, thank you for this message, for your Holy Spirit bringing it to us, that we may experience and understand what is so hard to understand. It's the Trinity.